Hello and welcome to another episode of the BashTalk podcast. Today I've got a returning guest, none other than Aneila Afsar herself. Now Anila is a very experienced martial arts professional in the sports of Taekwondo, and she's also done quite a few things since the last episode that we shot, which was definitely over a year ago, I think. So Anila, for the people that might not have seen the previous episode, just if you could just give us a quick introduction, please.
So my name's Anila. I was originally from the local area. I was born in Burnley, raised in Nelson, and I compete in Taekwondo professionally. So I started the sport when I was 6. By the time I was 12, I was in the GB setup. From there, I actually transitioned to representing Pakistan. Most recently, I represented Pakistan at the Olympic qualification event, where I just failed to qualify for the Olympics. That's a very, very quick summary, I guess, of my Taekwondo career. Notable achievements: I'm the Commonwealth champion and 5 times British champion. Yeah.
Very impressive. So, going back to the last episode, or the last chat that we had, which was over a year and a bit ago. Can you remember like the time period at that time you were working up to qualifying? And then at that point, and since then, you've done quite a few things. So if you can fire them off in order, all the things you've been up to.
Were we just had lockdown happened yet when we were doing our last podcast?
Yeah. Yeah. And then everyone's training got impacted.
So yeah, actually, I think it might have been during the lockdown period. Yeah, I was definitely I can't remember exactly what month we shot in, but I was in the run up for preparing for the Olympic qualification event. But even the preparations for this event, they'd been going on for years and years beforehand. I'd say probably from about 2018, where I was kind of recognised by Pakistan as being an athlete of a quality high enough to try to get to the Olympics. So that meant that I was then doing various tournaments just to achieve the results to kind of get to selection, because you can't just rock up at an Olympic qualification event. There's a lot of steps before you even get there. So on the last podcast, I was in like the final preparations. I'd been selected, and I was doing my own training. If we were in lockdown, it would have been insane, because there were various points. At some points, I was literally just training from my living room, because when we went into like a proper lockdown, even the GB Taekwondo gym was like shut, closed to everyone for quite a while. So I was like training with my coach over Zoom, with my then I think 3-year-old running circles around me. If anyone remembers the videos, if they follow me on Instagram. And then we're back in the gym. Even then training was very different, very strange. But yeah, the preparations were hard.
Yeah, because then even when you got back, you would have not necessarily been able to spar for a while as well, because of all the distancing regulations. Actually no, but then also because you guys are pro, you guys were able to kind of do it a bit sooner.
I mean, when we first went back, we weren't actually allowed to spar. We weren't allowed to do contact stuff. So we started back in the gym, and we literally had like a hanging bag and our own kind of like square to take the session, and the coach would stand at the front and they'd give us an exercise, and everything was just like on this bag. It was different. Definitely maintained a good level of fitness doing it, but then when we actually went back to sparring for the first 2 weeks, everyone was just like in bits. Everyone felt like they'd forgotten how to fight. And it was quite concerning as well, because it was so close up to the games. And then there was the whole talk as well. The whole time we were trying to kind of persist through training in lockdown, there was this kind of looming, is the Olympic Games going to happen? Because it was postponed a year, and then there was like, we don't actually know if it's going to happen, and there was all these rumours circulating. It was difficult, really difficult being an athlete at that time.
Did you find that when you started sparring, that your reactions and your reaction speed just goes from like down to zero, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, hopefully not zero, but Yeah, definitely not on form. I think you always feel worse than you look though. When you ask your coaches for feedback and you say, I'm feeling awful, nothing's working, I think mentally it's more frustrating than physically, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because a lot of the time your muscle memory is kind of shining through.
Yeah.
And then you might watch yourself, like obviously when we do like wrestling and stuff, you feel like you're moving through mud, but then after but people are telling you actually no, you're moving fine.
Yeah.
And you're doing it all through memory, aren't you? So
100%.
So okay, so you had a weird kind of unusual setup in terms of like the lead up for training.
There was Ramadan as well right before, which also was, I think Ramadan finished 2 weeks before I actually flew out. So as well as everything else, kind of the whole COVID situation, so training being really weird and up and down, I actually spent the month before qualifiers fasting and training.
Well, I suppose it could help with the weight.
It did, because I had to lose probably a stone, I think, for my fight.
Oh, wow.
It's the lowest. This was another thing. So with Taekwondo, with Olympic weight categories, not every weight is in the Olympics.
Yeah.
So my usual weight that I would cut to is not an Olympic weight, but I was never given the option to go higher, which meant I was cutting dangerously low. I had to be under 49 kilograms. So yeah, it did help with the weight loss, but that was another struggle in the preparations of things, cutting to a weight which was dangerously low, I'd say, for myself.
Oh, well. And then once we got into it, this was in Jordan?
Jordan is where I competed.
So well, at least you got to travel.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of COVID tests I had just for that one trip were insane. It definitely wasn't a nice kind of stress-free trip. And even then, because of the whole COVID situation, it was like a locked down event. So the hotel we stayed at, the competition actually took place there as well. And there weren't normal guests allowed in the hotel, and we weren't allowed out of the hotel either. So yeah.
I was going to say maybe the travel wasn't
there was
so
no
great
audience as well. There were no spectators allowed.
You need a bit of atmosphere.
Yeah, it was. A lot of people said, it was disappointing to say it was this biggest event I've ever competed in my life.
Because all you're going to hear is just your coach. Because you're not going to have, like, say, families screaming your name in the background and pushing you, lifting you.
Pretty much just silence. When I'm in the zone and I'm fighting anyway, I don't usually hear anything other than my coach. Even when people are shouting for me, all the background noise just kind of fades away. But it was strange. You could just hear yourself and then kind of the other fights that are simultaneously going on.
Cool. So how many bouts did you have?
I had two.
Two.
I lost my second one, which resulted in me not qualifying.
Yeah, we were kind of talking about this in detail prior to me setting the podcast up, but that was quite a difficult one. But then the girl that you lost to, she then went on to be the tournament winner or get to the final or something?
Yeah, so I lost to Vietnam. So when you go to Olympic qualification event, for every weight category, there's 2 spots up for grabs. So the winner of either side of the draw will qualify and get to go to the Olympics. She was the eventual winner from my side. There's not really any comfort in it. Like, I guess some people could say, well, you ultimately you lost to the best player, but it wouldn't have mattered. There's no silver medal or no bronze medal. There's nothing that, it wasn't a normal tournament. Nobody was there for ranking points, money, medals. Everyone was just there for that Olympic spot. And, anything short of winning your side of the draw, you go home with nothing.
That must have been quite emotional.
It was. It was. I went through a very hard time dealing with it afterwards, and I think this is one of the things as well that people kind of see athletes on Instagram, and we're posting these training videos that are looking cool, and we're living this type of lifestyle where we're traveling and winning things, and sometimes you've got these sponsor deals, but people need to realize that the highs are very high, but the lows are also very, very low. When you put in all these hours, and as I just said, like the preparations for me, they went on years and years before. And then at the end of the day, it comes down to a 6-minute fight, which is, it's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
These 6 a.m. runs you've been doing for the last God knows how many years, the stone of weight that you've had to lose, even the sacrifices. I mean, for me, one of the things that I found very difficult is, obviously, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, as well as, other family commitments, and just the physical time that I take away from my family, just to kind of try to achieve my goals. It does hit you. It feels like, it was kind of in vain if you haven't, which it isn't, of course it isn't. But when you haven't achieved what you wanted to achieve, it is difficult to deal with. But, all athletes have experienced it. Sometimes the kind of best success stories come shortly after it. There's highs and lows in the sport, in any professional sport.
I think we were talking about social media before this as well, weren't we? Where it gives a very, very unrealistic
100%
expectation to people, because especially if you're like a professional athlete, like people go to the office and say they've got a job there 9 to 5, and then people have bad days in the office, good in the office, and it's going to be the same for training, except I think you're under more pressure because every training session has to be on point, because you're in such an intense sport, and it's not like you're going to go there and have like loads and loads of other chances. You've got those bouts, and if you lose, you're out.
It's as well, if you in my sport, if you've had a bad day in the office, it probably means you've been beat up. I've re-broke my nose quite recently in a bad training session. It happens. And the thing is as well, as you said, it's a high pressure environment. So because it's a competitive individual sport, you're constantly being pushed by other people. Everyone who's there wants to be the best. There's no such thing as just kind of going through the motions. It is. A lot of people do end up leaving just because it's probably tougher mentally than it actually is physically, to kind of keep going when things are difficult.
Well, it takes a lot of discipline, so props to you.
Thank you.
So, on the back of the outcome of that tournament, would I be correct in saying, I think at that point you've then gone on to do a few more things that you want to talk about today in terms of adventures and stuff?
So I did. I took quite a lot of time off after the tournament. Spent time with family.
Probably just eating food and enjoying it.
Oh my God, yeah. I actually probably gained quite a lot of weight, and then doing not taekwondo, just no general exercise. I was like, if it requires effort, I'm not doing it. And then I eventually got myself back into like a normal routine. But yeah, I've actually set up a business with another athlete and a very good friend of mine, which I'd like to talk about today.
Please tell us more.
I'm really excited about it just because I guess the skills that I have, I've only ever seen myself kind of using them on the mats. And I guess what we've done now is like, I've seen a whole new way of like things that I can offer to people in terms of young people as well, and have like a really great positive impact. And not even just me, other athletes as well. So the company is called Showtime Academy. That's just the name of my business partner. He goes by Cho. He's quite, if you follow him on social media, he's known as Mr. Positive. He's very big on mental health, and this was kind of like the big ideology behind our business. During the lockdown is probably where it started. Him and myself, we were running a lot of free online Zoom training sessions. At the time, they were just for young Taekwondo athletes who were kind of struggling throughout lockdown. Gyms were closed. These kids are used to being in the gym 5 days a week. And we kind of saw this like huge impact that we had. Not just through the training sessions themselves, but just by giving them that one-to-one time and that support. And we'd speak to them at the end of session, see how they were feeling, them kind of giving them that routine back. And seeing this kind of positive impact we're having on their mental health, on their physical health, we just wanted to kind of span this into something bigger, something more permanent as well.
So who's the target audience for it now? So, because obviously you've dealt with the Taekwondo athletes who like who want something to do, but what about now?
Well, that was just kind of like an idea, I guess, where the idea came from. But the program we're running at the minute is called the Olympic Experience Program. So we run this through all educational institutions, primary schools, high schools, colleges, universities. And we also do it as like a team building type of exercise for companies, corporations, that type of thing. And ultimately, we utilise the sport of Taekwondo and professional athletes, not just my partner and myself, but we actually have a fantastic team of professional Team GB athletes signed with us. These athletes will then go out to the schools or the companies, and then we'll run these really great programmes with them. They include things just like motivational speaking, actual workshops which work on kind of like career goals and mindset, mentorship with anyone that's kind of struggling with anything. And then they kind of do physical Taekwondo sessions as well.
Now, I think I already know the answer to this one, but I'm going to ask for the benefit of the viewers and listeners. But would I be right in saying that a lot of, the kind of grinding that you did through them tough sessions since you started training from a young age, that kind of grind mindset, you're able to apply it, and you're basically kind of teach people to instill a bit of discipline, working hard, and all the other factors, you're basically just combining them, and now you're kind of in a position you can kind of teach to people, can't you now?
100%, and this is what we all have in common, us athletes, and this is kind of like the thing we want to teach to other people. We've all had to overcome adversities in order to achieve what we have and be who we are today, really. Some of these adversities are personal, some of them are like professional in terms of just overcoming like really rubbish injuries, losing over and over again, and still trying, getting up and trying again. And we just think through all of our experience that we kind of have almost like this common story that we believe that young people especially can take so much away from. Just really teaching them that no matter what the obstacle is in front of you, if you have a positive mindset, a strong mentality, and you believe that you can, then you stand a really good chance of achieving whatever you want to.
It's the mentality that shines through, because I remember after your last podcast, I had a good few people saying to me that they're quite inspired, as cheesy as it sounds, because you're talking about obviously having to get up early and do all that training, and you were obviously you're a parent and you had responsibilities, and you're still able to still kind of crack on. But then you're only able to do that by being disciplined with your time and effort and stuff like that. So it's nice to see you can pass it on to the next generation.
But yeah, I mean, I think this is really something that, especially I think it's needed as well for mental well-being, especially post-COVID. We are in like a place where mental health is plummeting. After the lockdown, there were so many people in isolation alone, stripped of kind of any opportunities for young people, and they kind of, something like this right now is really needed. So we're offering this out. So whilst we're based in Manchester, we are running it through this local area, even if it means the athletes have to travel. That was really important to me. Being here, knowing that this is a community where as well there aren't that many opportunities for young people. I mean, the opportunities that I had, they've kind of shaped who I am today, and I'd really like to kind of create something for young people and show them that they can dream big, they can achieve big, no matter the circumstances.
So just for context, what I'll do is if you send me all the details, I'll get them added to the description of the video, and then if anybody
teachers that want our program run through your school, sports clubs, colleges, companies, we do it all.
Okay, get in touch. So that's one thing that you do.
Yeah.
There's one more, isn't there?
I know, I always, I think I really like to keep myself extremely busy. As alongside running Showtime Academy, I've actually set up my own fitness business. So it's just female only training, but it's got a twist. What I did is that I combined Taekwondo with kind of like traditional HIIT training, and I created my own program called Thai HIIT. And honestly, it is fantastic. It's so different and it's fun. And even people who are coming now, it's the same people coming week in, week out. It's just something different, and people really, really enjoy it.
So now it's time to do the plug. So that's based at?
Ultimate Strength and Fitness Gym on Brunswick Street. But yeah, I'm also offering personal training there as well.
That's good. Oh, because it's third floor studio now, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's right next to it is female only, I think I've said that.
Yeah.
It is, it's next to the female gym. And
not to obviously do the sales pitch for her, but that's obviously catered at all fitness levels, isn't it? So
yeah.
So even though it's high intensity, there's still adaptability.
Yeah. So how we kind of do the sessions are the majority of it. We'll be doing kind of exercises or working for set periods of time, but there'll always be an easier option. So people can kind of go at their own pace. People who are fitter can kind of be doing the harder version of things. And people who kind of just at the beginning, there'll always be an easier version for them. But yeah, we have complete mixed ability. We have people who are, in the gym 5 times a week and they're coming to the sessions. And we have people who are literally just saying, I've not done anything for years. I want to get up and get fit. And everyone's working together really cohesively. It's a very nice environment as well. Like the girls, the ladies there, they all really push each other. A lot of them made friends. They all get on. Yeah, I enjoy it. Good. It's rewarding as well.
I might have to send the missus down. No excuses now. So you got obviously the fitness classes as well, and then at the moment, is it just the one a week or is it 2 a week?
We do 3 a week. So we're on Tuesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. I'll send you the links to all this type of stuff as well, as to if people are interested, how they can get in touch with me about it, how they can book.
Yep.
So yeah, those are the 2 kind of projects that I'm focusing on at the minute. I think both of them are kind of me exploring a different way to use my skills off the mats and trying to kind of offer what I have to other people.
Okay. That's, again, it's another positive. I know I mentioned it before, but just being able to use all that experience and then kind of drive it into business as well. But then that definitely must have an impact on your training and then your kind of athletic goals. Now, what's the story with you now in terms of your athletic ambitions?
In terms of competing at the highest professional level, so that would be trying to qualify for the Olympic Games or World Championships. I have stepped down. That's not to say I'm never going to compete again, but as of right now, I don't see myself competing at that kind of magnitude at the moment, just for many reasons. I mean, not to be, but my daughter is growing up, and whilst I have upheld this kind of training, this lifestyle around her, I do want to be more present, and just other reasons as well. I really put my health at risk trying to compete for the Olympics. So I'd say naturally I'm quite, as a lean athlete, I probably sit at maybe 57 kilograms. And to go to an Olympic Games, there's no option of me going at the higher weight. That's been made very clear to me. As silly as it sounds, it's just because of my height.
Yeah, no.
I'm very, very short for Taekwondo. Even in the lower weight category, I will be one of the smaller players, and it really does make a difference with the leg length. So I would never have the option of moving up, meaning if I was to go to the Olympic Games in a couple of years, I'd have to get down to 49 kilograms again. I developed anemia just from making the weight this time. I was quite poorly for kind of before and afterwards, and even things like when I spoke to doctors, things like my fertility were at a risk, just from kind of cutting weight that low, and I just kind of decided that I wouldn't put my health at risk to make that weight again, and that in itself kind of removes the option of the Olympics for me.
Yeah, no, honestly, in a situation like that, I mean, is it weighing on the same day or the day before?
You weigh in the day before, so you usually have, I'd say, and depending what time you fight, probably an 18 to 24 hour period, which isn't a long time. So I dehydrated, I think, maybe 1.5 kilos. Some athletes do a lot more than that, but just because I'd gone right down, I didn't really have to. But I did I want to say a 24 to 30 hour fast. So that was no eating and no drinking. And then I dehydrated kind of in a sauna after that too, just before weigh-in. But
that sounds brutal.
It it was. I have images of myself before I weighed in. I think I'll keep them forever just to. It's very, very difficult, and I'm not alone in it. A lot of the athletes, the professional athletes, even in GB Taekwondo, like they cut to very, very extreme weights. The things we do, they're not sustainable, but they're not supposed to be. They're for short periods of time. It's part of the sport, and I'm not alone in it, and not asking for any sympathy, because you know, when you do get the highs, it's just one of the things that come with it. But for me personally, having a family and things, I just don't feel like it's worth risking my long-term health for going forward.
Yeah, I mean, with the weight cut, I've been there, and I shouldn't really have done it, because it was one of those where I didn't need to. I could have competed at 74, but I had it in my head, I thought, I need to experience this, because one day when I'm coaching the next generation, at least I can see, you know, how it felt, and it's brutal. It wasn't as severe as yours though. So, but it was the same day vein, so it was a bit like, it's kind of like down to 70 kilos. And it's amazing that as soon as you do it, you just want to eat, but you can't.
Yeah, you have to be. A lot of people trip up there as well. Like they eat or put in. You have to be very specific about kind of what you put into your body at what time, at what rate afterwards, to try to kind of replenish yourself optimally.
It wrecks your immune system as well, because
it does.
I did the same day weighing, competed, and then that same night I had like a brutal, just a cold/flu for like a week, and I was like, never again. I've learned my lesson. But yeah, enough about weight cuts, because it's just bringing back miserable memories for both of us, isn't it?
Just sat in a sauna like crying. Honestly, I've cried in weighing queues, like real tears. I don't cry a lot. It's what it is.
But I suppose by us expanding on like how bad it is, at least people understand that.
Yeah.
At some point, you got to see like where you fit into the sport, and you think, actually, you know, it's not worth doing the weight cuts. And in terms of leg length and physical stature and everything, it's going to be difficult to kind of fill in for the higher weight classes. But then at the same time, all the effort you put in all the years, you're kind of transferring it back, and now you've got some business ventures.
Yeah, so I feel like alhamdulillah, like these kind of opportunities that presented themselves to me through my business partner, it all just kind of, I felt like everything kind of made sense, and everything was kind of very well timed. I'm a very big believer in taking opportunities, regardless of what I always have, and I've never regretted it. I think the worst thing that can happen is something doesn't work out, but there's never that. That was what it was with the Olympics as well. Like when they offered me the place at 49 kilograms, I hadn't been that weight since I was like 15, but it's the Olympics. It's an opportunity. Who's going to say no? Who's not going to try? And that's just kind of like my outlook to life. Seize the opportunity.
Even to get to that stage, you're already among like a small number of elites anyway.
Yeah.
Like you've kind of at the top of that level, so no one can question it. But actually, I got a random question for you actually. So because you mentioned obviously that you're not around Nelson as much now, but do you still count yourself as a Nelsoner?
Yeah, I guess. I feel like I've lost the accent, but
you definitely have.
Yeah, I moved out out of Nelson when I was 18, but I must say I probably spend an equal amount of time here as I do in Manchester. My family is still based over here, and I'm very, very family orientated. So even with the crazy, insane schedules, I'm still, you know, over at my dad's, my mum's, like 3 times a week, and hence my classes are based in Nelson. And I do really want to work with this community, like just even the kind of following I have from young Muslim girls around here. It might not be like the biggest following, but I feel like I can have a really great impact even on that kind of small number of young girls. Kind of presenting myself as a role model, you know, who wears a hijab, who can do this in sport, who's, you know, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, and you're just kind of being the best version of yourself regardless.
I 100% agree, because you mentioned like maybe not the biggest following, but again we were having this conversation before this as well when we were. It's more about engagement. It's more that I'd rather have maybe 200 views on a video, but everybody that watches it actually watches it and takes it in. 100%. And at the same time, you don't. compromise on yourself. So it's almost like a cookie cutter template that young boys and girls can follow if they want to become like Insta famous and social media famous, and they're all the same. It's that rinse and repeat, just scroll through. Whereas if you're more yourself and you're genuine, you might not get the big quote unquote numbers, but you'll have better engagement and you'll actually impact people's lives in a more meaningful way. Well, that's what I think anyway.
Yeah, I think social media it's frustrating, and honestly, if it was up to me, like if someone gave me the choice, like if you could decide if there was no social media ever invented, I'd 100% get rid of it. I think the negative impacts for me far, far outweigh the positive. I mean, you do have some positive things, like you do have some really good accounts now, sharing, positive content, things about mental health, just kind of telling, Instagram isn't real. There's a lot of educational things out there. You can market businesses on there. But overall, I think it's just giving people this image of things that they're just not realistic. And for me and you to sit here, it's easy for us to see, but for young people who are so impressionable, it's completely changing their kind of outlook to life. Even myself, like I feel like I've started to be a lot more cautious with the things I share. So I think when I was a little bit younger, if I bought anything that was quite nice, don't it's just a habit. You don't even mean anything by it, just a quick little snap or an Instagram story or whatever. But then I've just become even a lot more conscious in sharing things like that, because even little things like that can have an impact on people. You don't know what situation people are in, and what I'm showing this 1%. I'm not showing you the graft that I had to put in to buy these expensive trainers. It's just, I don't like social media, honestly. Recently, I really don't like it. I started wearing a hijab in the last year, which also meant that I had to remove a lot of my content, just because it didn't make sense to me to kind of have some of my old things where I'm not dressed modestly, or haven't got my hair covered. In my head, I thought I'm going to kind of remake a lot of content.
Yeah. And
just because of the way I've kind of been feeling about it, I just honestly haven't got around to it.
It's one of those where you're probably kind of thinking, this is even worth my time going through.
Yeah, it is. But then I do get like these it might even just be the odd message once a week from like someone local or someone young, just telling me that I've had some sort of positive impact on them that week. Nice. About something I've shared. And it's like you said, it's always the real stuff. Maybe just about struggle I've been through, or things with my daughter. Me now training with the hijab, like that's been like a very, very big thing. Like I've had like floods of messages from that.
I'm glad you mentioned it, because I was like,
do I mention it?
Do I ask? Do I not ask? Or
it's not a taboo. Like I'm happy to like kind of talk about it.
It's a personal decision that you've made, and
there's the whole cliche like, what's your hijab story type of.
Yeah, no, don't worry. I'm not going to go down that road. The way I see it is, it's straightforward. You've got free will. You've got your free choice.
See, this is one thing I want to clarify, because one of the things I found most frustrating when I started wearing my hijab, the common question I got from Muslims, non-Muslims, every day, I'd say for a couple of weeks, was whether a family member or my husband were forcing me to wear it. Some of them didn't say forcing me, and to be honest, not everybody asked in that kind of way. Like some of it was worded very nice in terms of...
It's just implied.
Yeah. And it's just frustrating that that's what people's first thoughts are. That obviously, then again, it's like the fact that the headscarf, why are people automatically linking it to oppression? Because that's what they're applying, that now I've decided to wear the headscarf, they're assuming that somebody is oppressing me to wear it, where in reality, it's a free choice that I've made for myself. And in a way, I feel very liberated.
Yeah. I think, like, it is a bit of a disparity, and it's a bit unfair. And I think it is a little bit of a gender issue, because look, if a guy, Muslim guy, grows his beard, I can guarantee you 99.99% of people will not say, oh, yeah, it must have been his wife that made him grow his beard. Must have got married. You won't get none of that. Whereas if someone, like a woman, decides, like, and you see her maybe a week later, she's got a scarf on, you'll be like, I can guarantee you're going to hear it, be like, yeah, must have got married, man. It must have been that. So, again, it's your free will, your decision. And there's a reason I didn't ask you loads about it, because the way I see it is it shouldn't be such an issue.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like, I think now that I wear a hijab, there's this whole thing that you're held to a much higher moral standard.
Yeah.
But in reality, I'm still myself. Of course, I'm
Yeah.
always trying to improve on who I am, and even like my deen and practicing Islam and things. But that doesn't mean to say that I've attained a higher standard of being a person, or that I'm a better person than anybody else, or even who I kind of was previously, just because I'm choosing to wear the hijab, really. I think that's one of the reasons as well that probably I put off wearing it for so long. It was just this whole thing of like your behaviors are kind of magnified.
Yeah, 100%. I was gonna go down that road, but you said it. Yeah,
They are. If I was to kind of, even in training before, no one would kind of pay much attention to what I was doing in training. Whereas now, maybe if I'm doing something physical with a male athlete, which doesn't really happen anyway, but it'd definitely be looked at differently because I'm wearing a hijab.
Yeah.
Just simple things that people don't really think about. I've always wanted to wear one, to be honest. I've always thought, kind of admired people who do. Followed a lot of role models for a long time. And for myself, the one thing that I feel like was the biggest thing in preventing me from wearing it, because I don't mind wearing it every day, but I was like, how am I going to train in it? How am I going to compete in it? And then I almost feel like I went through like imposter syndrome, in terms of, I'm this person who's sat here telling you, if you want to do A, B, C and D, you can do it, no matter like what your circumstances are. There's always a way around it if you want to do things. I think I literally sat down to myself one day and I was like, Anila, if you want to wear a hijab, if you actually want to wear one, you find a way. Like, it doesn't mean it's going to be easy to train in it and stuff. And it wasn't. It was really, really difficult for about a month, and then now I'm just used to it. Like, you find a way. You do, and now it's just my norm. So it's like a conversation I had to have with myself, and like everything else, there's a will, there's a way.
It's good to hear, because I think the only thing I'd probably add, but I'm speaking for myself, obviously I can't speak for you, is, like when someone's in a position where, let's say, they're seen as being a bit more religious, like you said, they get put under a magnifying scope, and people tend to be more like, but if person's doing this, then shouldn't it also be doing that? And people need to understand that it's a process. 100%. It doesn't happen overnight. Like, you might do something for 4 or 5 years, or do something all your life, and only realize like a week, let's say a week ago, that actually I might have been a little bit wrong.
Yeah,
it's learning.
100%.
Whereas if you then start kind of like trying to be a Google scholar and stuff.
I haven't put a scarf on and become a scholar or anything. I'm on my own journey. I think we all are, and I'm sure there's people who are much, much, much further along their journey than others, and they might wear a headscarf, they might not. It's not really relevant. But it's just, I felt like I think as I've gotten older, my daughter's gotten older, I felt confident enough in myself and my beliefs to be more visible about them. And again, it was just kind of like having the mental strength to kind of pursue something which before I thought would be really difficult. But I was at a place in my life where I felt like I was ready to do that.
That's good to hear, man.
Probably not where you thought this podcast was going, but
no, because
some extra kind
my
of
job,
content.
When I get people on and stuff, I've got to obviously we have topics to talk about, and everyone has something that they specialize in, whether it's mental health or whether they own a business, and I talk about that business. But I always try to get something off that person that can relate to what the viewers might see. So there might be some young girls that are kind of like at that point where they're like at that crossroads, thinking, should I not? And they might be making the same decisions that you're making, but then you're giving them the rationale behind yours. And at the same time, I think the key point we emphasized was almost the kind of independence of it.
100%.
So on that note, we're doing good for time actually. But is there anything else that you want to share, talk about, or just to round off with any kind of closing statements or words for any people that are going to be listening?
Really put on the spot now. I would like to thank just kind of the people who've always supported me. That could be kind of sponsors that even helped me kind of get to the Olympic qualification event as well. Because even when
Big up Chiefy.
Yeah, Chiefs. Yeah, you guys, like, I probably wouldn't have made 49 kilograms. I was having Chiefs for iftar for suhoor. But even Chiefs have kind of supported me for years for the run up to the.
And
to
last
Olympics.
time, I don't know if you remember, but when we did the podcast, you realised you hadn't shouted like one or two people out. So now's a chance. I think it was a coach or someone. Some other people,
Yeah,
so now's a good time.
Now's a good time. Of course, my coaches and I've worked with like a whole team of the best coaches over the years. My journey's not just been like a one-to-one coaching thing. I've had coaches help me over the years. You come to our club, train with this person, and let's take you here. My main coach was Kathy Hawke in Doncaster, and John Docker. He's my strength and conditioning coach. He's taken multiple athletes international from multiple disciplines, not even just myself. Like this doesn't get any better. I've also recently gone into partnership with, I don't know if you've been, and I'm not just saying this because we have a partnership, but if you've not been, you need to go. I think it's wellness at the clinic. I always want to say, I don't know if, I always want to say wellness clinic, but I think it's wellness at the clinic.
Yeah.
This is the thing we have for our little community. There's so many great kind of like wellness opportunities and businesses popping up, and they're all at a very high standard. As you can imagine, over the years, I've received so many kind of services in terms of massages and injuries, physiotherapy. I've been to loads of clinics around this area, Manchester, bigger cities, and it's good. It's really good. When I'm in kind of like heavy loads of training, I'm getting a sports massage there once or twice a week. And what I really, really like, although I'm kind of going there for a sports massage, it's very kind of, it has a really nice relaxing atmosphere. It's still very wellness based. Whereas if you go for a lot of sports massages, it can feel very, very clinical. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
So they've got a really, really nice kind of mix, a really nice balance, and the staff are fantastic. I actually need to book in for next week. I've just remembered, if they're watching this, they can give me a call and book me in.
So, that's good. Keeping it local to Nelson then. Big ups.
Ultimate Strength and Fitness as well. They do not even just about my classes. I mean, I'm always on the lookout for kind of really good female-only facilities. To be fair, for our local area, we do have quite a lot. When you go to bigger cities in Manchester, I'm always really disappointed that there isn't. Another long-term goal for myself, I'd really like to set up something kind of in a bigger city that's permanent female only. Dream never stops. But the facilities there, female only, they're huge. Honestly, they're the biggest I've ever seen. The machinery is very up to date, and they have a sauna, which is, exactly what you need at the end of a long session. So I'd also like to just mention them. Obviously, that's where I'm based. That's why I'm running my fitness classes at the minute. And we will definitely link the information
definitely
to that.
get all the details.
And the Showtime Academy.
Yes. I'll get all that in.
School stuff I'm doing.
So also then it's my turn to say thanks. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was just obviously, you know what I'm like with organising, and just like WhatsApp messages flying backwards and forwards. Yeah, you're quite busy. So I appreciate you coming on, and I appreciate you guys for just keeping tuned in. If you're not subscribed, then just subscribe. I normally used to say follow the socials, but to be honest, I'm gonna just slowly switch off the socials over the next couple of weeks and just keep the absolutely limited ones, because I'm the same as you. I'm trying to get away.
Remove yourself from socials a little bit.
I got myself a bit stuck because people use my Facebook page to kind of figure out what the latest episodes are, because they share there. And then I'm kind of stuck now because I don't want to use it anymore. But anyway, enough of my crap.
I know.
But that's another episode. I've got another episode coming in within a day or two after this. So I'm fully back on it. While I'm injured from wrestling, I'm just going to keep plugging these episodes, and then I'll be back to being a busy man again. So peace out.
Thank you.